Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. On the drive home that night, I sensed something was wrong. Sophia sits in the passenger seat, away from me, arms crossed over her chest. The atmosphere in the car was so cold it could have frozen water. 20 years of marriage has made me know her like the back of my hand. The way she thinks, the way she behaves, even the subtle facial expressions when she lies. I knew something was up. About a year ago, Sophia got a new job. Her new boss, William, is a reputable barrister. From the way he first looked at Sophia at the office party, I knew this man was up to no good. But I chose to trust my wife. After all, we've been going for 25 years. In recent months, however, Sophia's behavior has become unusual. Frequent overtime, late nights home, mysterious phone calls. I watched her closely for 3 months until today, when I finally relented. "Why are you always working late lately?" I asked her, my voice harsher than usual. Sophia froze for a moment, as if she didn't expect me to be so direct. Her fingers tapped uneasily on the tabletop, a habitual gesture when she lied. "Busy with work, you know." I kept up the pressure. "Is it because of William?" Her eyes flashed. "What do you mean?" "You know what I mean." I stared into her eyes. "Tell me the truth." For the next 20 minutes, we had a heated confrontation. Eventually, Sophia broke down as I pressed her. Tears slid down her face, but they were not tears of remorse. "Yes, I had an affair with William," she admitted, a hint of stubbornness in her tone. "I only asked one question, why?" Her reply was like a sharp knife, piercing right into my heart. "You're still the same person you were 20 years ago, never changing, never improving yourself. You look like a roughneck in your scruffy clothes, and you can't even show up decently in social situations." I looked at her incredulously. "Is that why you betrayed me? Because my dress code wasn't decent enough?" "It's more than that," she continued. "I want a better life. I need a partner who can match me, not a coward who obeys me in everything. You never take control of a situation like a real man." I stared at Sophia, my insides churning with unspeakable pain and anger. "You're going to throw away 25 years of my loyalty because I can't show up at your party in all my glory? Because I don't dominate you like a tyrant? I put you through college, trained you to be a lawyer, raised our kids. And today, you're saying I'm not good enough?" Sophia's attitude suddenly hardened when she saw how agitated I was. She raised her chin and said in an icy tone I've never seen before, "You should understand and accept the status quo. I'll be with my new love interest, and you'd better accept that." "What if I don't accept?" She gave a contemptuous smile. "Then I'll file for divorce and take away everything you've worked so hard for. I'll drag you into endless legal battles that will keep you between the courts and the streets for the rest of your life. I'll even take away the thing you hold most dear, the repair shop you've built with years of hard work. You'd better be ready." I leaned back in my chair and looked coldly at the strange woman in front of me. "You think you can really take everything from me through illegal means?" Sophia nodded, a provocative look in her eyes. I suddenly smiled. "Good luck?" Without waiting for her to speak, I got up and left the room. The next morning, I walked out of the house to go to work in silence, as usual. Shortly after I left, Sophia immediately called her lover, William. I always remember that day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. William waltzed into my repair shop with a condescending smile on his face. "Mr. Thompson, may I come in?" he asked in a haughty tone. I looked up and said calmly, "I know who you are." "Good," William said with a smug smile. "That saves some time. I believe Sophia told you this morning that our relationship will continue. But she probably didn't tell you why you'd agree with that." William walked himself into the repair shop and set his briefcase down on a side workbench. "Thanks," he said, even though I hadn't invited him to do so. "I don't know if you realize," William continued, "but I am the owner of the law firm where Sophia works. That means I have more than 20 attorneys on my staff, and I can assure you that every single one of them was selected because of an outstanding record of winning cases. More than half of them are well-versed in divorce law. Believe me, I wouldn't hesitate to have them go all out against you." He opened his briefcase, took out a stack of papers, and began to show them one by one. "These are the divorce proceedings, see? Your wife has signed it." This is an order to freeze your company's accounts until your business is sold in accordance with the settlement agreement. This is an order for you to move out of the marital home within 24 hours. William looked up at me with a winning expression on his face. Do you see where this is going, Oliver man? I'll wrap you up in so many legal documents that you won't be able to move. Eventually, when you don't even have the money to hire the worst lawyer, you'll give up. He paused for a moment, a malicious glint in his eyes. You know what? I'll continue to sleep with your wife throughout this whole process. I remained silent and just watched him quietly. That seemed to make him even more smug. Yes, I can see that you are taller and stronger than me, William continued, but you must realize that this is no longer the time to rule the world by brute force. Intelligence is king and has long since trumped brute force. His tone suddenly softened a bit. Actually, it didn't have to get that bad, Mr. Thompson. How about we just keep things the way they are? I'll continue to fuck your wife when I want to, and you when she wants to, as you've done for the past 4 months. Hey, why make waves? One day I'll get tired of her, and then she'll be all yours again. William leaned over the workbench with a victorious air. Well, I've said all I need to say. Let's face it, if you could really fulfill all her needs, we wouldn't be here today, would we? My advice is that you might as well accept reality. Think of it as an opportunity for self-improvement. As he was about to leave, he turned back and added, Oh yeah, one more suggestion, man. Be tough on your wife. The reason I was able to steal her from you was not because I was more attractive than the other men who pursued her. Rather, it's because I acted like a real man and told her how things would turn out in the end, just like I'm doing with you right now. A dead silence fell over the repair shop. I stood up slowly, my gaze disturbingly calm. Are you finished, smug ass? My voice was low and smooth. I can see that people like you don't understand what it means to be a real man. Do you want a regular mechanic to explain it to you? William flashed a contemptuous smile. Go ahead, show me what a real man is. I didn't say much, just took a half step forward, and my right fist struck William in the face like lightning. With a satisfying crack of bones, William fell heavily to the floor, his back against the wall of the workshop, disbelief written all over his face. That's lesson number 1, I said calmly. I pulled William up as soon as I could before the excruciating pain really hit, but then hit him hard with an uppercut to the stomach. This time, William fell to the ground, desperately trying to breathe. That's lesson number 2, I continued. Just as William finally found his breathing rhythm, my steel-toed leather boots came down hard on his outstretched hand. The sound of a crisp fracture accompanied William's scream. Lesson 3, I said, adding another kick to his chest, and there was the sound of several more ribs breaking. In lesson 4, I looked down at William, who was groaning in pain on the floor. I really appreciate this, by the way. You know what? I resolved in high school that I would never abuse my size and strength. But you broke in today and flaunted your relationship with my wife in front of me, completely breaking my vows. Even gentlemen have a bottom line they can't stand. I pressed my foot gently against William's throat until the other man was completely quiet before continuing. Now, let me give you a real lesson in manhood. You may reign supreme in your air-conditioned office, but in the real world, you're nothing but a self-righteous douche. Also, I can't believe you call yourself smart. You didn't even bring a witness, stupid. I stood up and looked at William condescendingly. Now, let's look at the possible future. Option 1, you report it to the police. Maybe they'll arrest me. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll let me post bail. Maybe they won't. Maybe they can convict me. Maybe they can't. There are too many maybes here, William. The worst-case scenario for me is that I spend 5 years of my apprenticeship in prison. 5 years to learn how to hurt people and never get caught. When I finish this apprenticeship, we'll have this conversation again. My voice became colder. Or, William, you could take this experience as a lesson. Think of it as a learning experience about what can happen when you sleep with someone else's wife. Now, get out. I have to clean it up. Thanks to you, my clean workroom is now covered in blood and shit. And to call yourself a real man is ridiculous. That night, Sophia waits impatiently in her office for news from William. She pressed on and finally dialed William's number. William? I've been waiting for you in the office for quite some time. Where have you been? Is something wrong? There was worry in her voice. William's weak voice came from the other end of the line. He was lying in a hospital room. I've just been admitted to the hospital and have been in the emergency room for 3 hours. Sophia exclaimed, "Oh my God! Have you been in a car accident?" No, William said bitterly. I underestimated your husband. I was stupid enough to go see him alone. He ended up breaking my nose, fracturing my left arm, a couple of ribs, and probably even shattered my cheekbone. I can't believe it. Sophia said incredulously. Oliver was never a violent person. Believe me, the injuries on my body are proof of that. William said bitterly. If you want to see the x-rays, I can always show them to you. Sophia started to panic. Oh my God, I can't believe it. This isn't like the Oliver I know. We can't go to the police. After all, we're at fault too. Oliver shouldn't be in jail for this. William sighed. The police have been here. I told them I was hit by a hit-and-run car. Your gentle husband warned me that if I dared to call the police, it would only be the beginning of the pain I would suffer. I can't risk getting hurt again. I decided to keep quiet. That's not like you at all. Sophia said in surprise. You sound like you're scared of him. Look, Sophia, William's voice became serious. I'm just doing what's necessary to protect myself. Now I've got to hang up. They've given me a painkiller and it's starting to kick in. The next day, Sophia comes to visit William in the hospital. She couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air at the sight of William, covered in bruises and with a look of fear on his face. William, you have to help me, Sophia said eagerly. I drove late last night and was afraid to go home. I tried calling Oliver to see if it was safe to go back, but he never answered. When I finally worked up the courage to come home, I found that all the locks had been changed. I couldn't get into the house, so I had to spend the night at my sister's. I checked all my bank accounts this morning and they were emptied and all my credit cards were frozen. You have to help me. Can we get the firm's divorce attorney to start the process and get Oliver out of the house? Can I stay at your place temporarily until then? William shook his head hard. No, none of this will work. What do you mean? Sophia asked in disbelief. If I use the company's resources to help you, he'll have reason to come after me again. Actually, just to be safe, Sophia, you're fired. If you pack up and leave today, I'll give you an extra 4-week severance. If you see Oliver, please tell him I fired you. Sophia looked at William incredulously. Don't you understand my situation? Oliver has emptied our accounts. Without money, without a job, without your help, I lost from the start. William closed his eyes and whispered, I'm sorry, Sophia. You didn't see the look on your husband's face when he hit me. I'm just doing what I have to do to protect myself. Sophia snapped out of it, her voice filled with disappointment and anger. You're such a coward. Yesterday you were bragging about being a strong man. And today you're cringing because my husband, a man you used to laugh at, might come after you. What makes me think I'm on the up and up with you? You're not even a tenth as good as Oliver. William said coldly, You're still delusional. Do you think I would take you seriously as a slut who betrayed her husband? Later that day, Sophia sat alone in her car on the side of the road. Her credit cards declined and her cash running out. She had driven to the point where she couldn't go any further, running out of gas. She had planned to sail to the city where her 2 children were staying to seek shelter. Over the years, the children never let their mother's messages go unanswered for more than an hour. However, she had been calling them since 10 o'clock in the morning and had never gotten a response. Sophia checked her phone again, still 0 messages. With a deep sigh, she picked up her already useless handbag and stepped out of the car. Sophia's heart raced as a battered van slowly approached. When the car pulls up beside her, she's surprised to see that it's Oliver in the driver's seat. She froze in place and tried to run away, but it was as if her body was frozen. Oliver got out of the car and calmly said, Get in the car and let's talk. Sophia hesitated for a moment, but eventually got into the car. She looked exhausted, her makeup was messy, and her eyes were red from crying. This is in stark contrast to the usual image of the polished career woman. Oliver began to recount his decision without a trace of emotion in his voice. I want you to prepare the divorce papers. No alimony, no division of my assets. All my stuff belongs to me, your stuff belongs to you. All the jewelry I bought you, you have to give it back to me. As for the reason for the divorce, you can write whatever you want. I don't care, as long as it gets you out of my life. He continued, after the divorce, you're going to leave the city and never come back. You can contact the kids and meet without me present, provided they are willing to see you. Your things are packed, and you can pick them up at the house by 10 a.m. tomorrow. If it's not picked up by 11 o'clock, it will be burned. Do I make myself clear? Sophia nodded silently. Her stubbornness disappeared, replaced by deep exhaustion and despair. Oliver asks, when can I get my divorce papers? Sophia said softly, it will take about a week. It has to be on my desk in 5 days. Oliver said firmly. Sophia nodded again. Oliver took one last look at her. Sophia looks like she's seen a ghost. With a small smile, he let her out of the car and drove off. Sophia came to pick up her things at 10:30 the next morning as promised. She didn't say much, just silently removed the items that belonged to her. 5 days later, she served the divorce papers, with the reason written as incompatibility. Seeing the reasoning, Oliver smiled. A few months later, the divorce was finalized and Oliver regained his freedom. He deeply regrets the breakdown of his marriage and laments Sophia's failure to understand the meaning of fidelity. He regretted that Sophia didn't realize that he could have changed his dress and become a more decent husband if she had only asked. She failed to understand that a man who was 5 feet 9 inches could seriously hurt her if he acted too strong in bed. If Sophia had chosen to communicate with him in an effort to save the marriage, things could have ended differently. But she chooses to threaten him with the law, which has been an irreversible turning point for Oliver. The Parker family's wife-swapping party is eventually exposed by a reporter and the whole town shakes. Some couples get divorced and move away. Some people disappear from their social circles. Their secret club had completely disintegrated. Sophia starts dating someone new, but never seems to understand why her marriage ended the way it did. And Oliver, he decided to move on with his life, alone. Maybe one day he'll pass away alone. After all, every top predator ends up dying alone. After the divorce, he occasionally thinks of Sophia, not from pining, but wondering if she had finally realized that a man's worth was not in his social status or dress, but in his character and loyalty. But none of that matters. What matters is that he preserved his dignity and taught those who betrayed him the lesson they deserved. The story of Oliver Thompson is still occasionally talked about in this town. They say the owner of this garage taught everyone a profound lesson. Never joke with marriage and fidelity, because some people will have their way with justice. As for Oliver, he just continued to run his repair shop and live his life as usual. Only now, no one dared to underestimate the seemingly ordinary mechanic anymore. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.